We're back for our daily NBA best bets here on Friday, December 19th. We've got a good amount of games today in the association. Actually, we got 5, so enough. We've got 5 games. We got a best bet per game with the Amazon Prime doubleheader today with the Philadelphia 76ers and New York Knicks in the first one, and then OKC going to Minnesota for the second half of the doubleheader. Now, yesterday I know was really bad, so let's look for a better day today here on the channel, folks. And before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily NBA best bets here on the channel. Earlier today, we posted our college basketball best bet, so go check that out. Our first college basketball best bet starts in an hour if you're watching this video when it comes out, so go make sure to check out what we got going on in the Dartmouth versus Sacred Heart game. Also on the channel, folks, our college football predictions. Obviously, today is the first playoff game with Alabama taking on Oklahoma in Norman, so make sure you go check that video out if you want to see our college football playoff predictions for round 1. And also on the channel, our NFL predictions for this week's action and week's slate of games. And on Greedo Plays MMA, our final PFL, our final predictions video of 2025 on Greedo Plays MMA with PFL Africa. So go make sure to check that video out over on that channel if you have not yet. Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua's tonight. I did not make a video about it. Who do I think is going to win? Jake Paul. Come on now. No, I don't know. I hope he does. He's probably not going to. Okay, on to the first of our 5 best bets today for the NBA. We're going to kick things off with the Miami Heat taking on the Boston Celtics in the Boston Garden. I'm going to go Boston minus 6.5. I know we were on the wrong side of the equation yesterday with the Miami Heat because we thought Brooklyn was going to be able to cover it. Brooklyn was playing a really competitive game through 3 quarters, and then obviously the Heat pulled away in the 4th. Okay, second night of a back-to-back for Miami, and this is going to be key with this schedule today. Because obviously we're going to talk about every single game because we only get 5 games. So we're going to talk about each one, obviously doing 5 best bets. But a lot of these teams played yesterday with, 13 games going on yesterday. Most of these teams are coming off the second night of a back-to-back. There's a couple, though, who aren't. And one of them there's a couple today, but one of them is the Boston Celtics. Obviously, Boston played the other night. They lost at home on Prime. Yeah, the game was on ESPN, TNT, Prime. The game's not on TNT anymore. I think it was Prime they lost. Boston lost the other night. To, oh my goodness, who was it? They lost the other night, though, on primetime television on Monday, was it? It was on Monday, I think, when they lost to Detroit. Yeah, it was Monday. I think it was NBC. It was the one I didn't name. They lost on NBC to Detroit. They're back now taking on the Heat, but they haven't played since Monday, and I think they're going to beat Miami in this spot. I firmly believe that. I think they're going to cover the 6.5, too. The Heat are finally coming off of, finally broken their big losing streak. We talked about that quite a bit yesterday. The 5 consecutive losses they had, but obviously yesterday they went out and found a way to beat the Nets. Norman Powell ended up playing. Tyler Hero did not, and we'll see what happens going forward to today. We'll see if Tyler Hero is going to give it a go on the second night of a back-to-back, and we shall see as well, will Norman Powell play the second night of a back-to-back because he went into yesterday's game against Brooklyn already with an injury. But it's the second night of a doubleheader for Miami, albeit the trip from Brooklyn, New York to Boston is not that long, but still, you have to travel, you have to play on the second half of a back-to-back against a Boston team that has not played since Monday. And I get it, the Celtics are have lost back-to-back games to the Bucks and to Detroit, but they played on Monday and then last Thursday are their 2 most recent games. There's a lot of rest the Celtics are going into this game with, and I think they're going to be perfectly fine in their attempt to beat the Miami Heat. Both these teams have similar records, as Boston actually only has a half game on Miami, as the Celtics are 15-11, the Heat are 15-12. But ultimately, what I think this game comes down to is overall talent, which I believe is on the side of Boston. Who's at home? Boston. And who has more rest going into this game? Boston. I think the Celtics win, especially for a team that is so dependent on their starting lineup. And obviously, you can say that about pretty much every single team in the NBA because, obviously, the players who start are the best players in the team. But for a Celtics team who really relies on 3 players that start to score, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard. I know Peyton Pritchard played pretty badly on Monday against Detroit, but obviously you still got big nights out of Jaylen Brown, and Derek White really hit some big threes in that game to keep Boston in that one against Detroit. But you rely on those 3 guys to score. And then you also, Neemias Queta, who starts at the 5. Jordan Walsh has been playing fairly well in a role that I don't know if he was expected to fill this season, but Jordan Walsh at the 4 has been really good. Their bench is really weak, okay? Anfernee Simons is the only saving grace off that bench. Other than that, my goodness, is it weak? It's pretty bad. Hugo Gonzalez is getting some run. I remember when he first came into the game the other day against Detroit, Detroit immediately blitzed him and pickpocketed him as soon as the 19-year-old Gonzalez got onto the court. It's just I wouldn't say their entire bench is inexperienced, but you've just got a bench unit that you can't really trust with Simons, who again is the leader of that bench unit, but then Baylor Shireman, okay, I like Shireman, but Hugo Gonzalez, Sam Hauser, Josh Minot. It's not a great bench unit Boston has. So that's with all this rest going into this game, I think it heavily favors Boston. And at the same time, Miami just played yesterday. And the Heat played a competitive game against Brooklyn. I don't care the final score says an 11-point victory for Miami. That game was close. And the Brooklyn Nets were in a decent position at the end of the game to win. I think they were down 3 going into the fourth quarter, but don't get me wrong, again, they were very in that game. And obviously, Brooklyn gets a big night out of Michael Porter Jr. because when is there ever not a big game out of MPJ? And it was Norman Powell who led the scoring for the Heat. Bam Adebayo wasn't involved in the scoring at all for the Heat yesterday, but it was a lot of Norman Powell and Jaquez off the bench as well. And we'll see how the injury situation today plays out for Miami with both Norman Powell and Tyler Hero. Obviously, Hero did not play yesterday. Powell did. We'll see what happens with both those guys in the lineup today. However, I think Boston gets it, regardless of who's playing for Miami. Let's not forget the struggles the Heat have had on the road this season. This is a 5-8 team away from Miami this year, and let's not forget the losing streak that they were on prior to beating Brooklyn. Sure, again, I thought the Nets were, I still think the Nets are playing better basketball, but I thought it was going to be, well enough that Brooklyn was going to be able to shock Miami and maybe win the basketball game, but definitely cover. And through 3 quarters, that was looking pretty good, but obviously the final result didn't obviously show that. But anyways, I think this is a really good spot here for Boston. I think they should go out here and find a way to cover. Again, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Pritchard, all on a lot of rest. And for Miami team that just played yesterday as well, I like Boston to take this one home at the Boston Garden. Give me Boston Celtics spread -6.5 against the Miami Heat. On now to our second best bet of the video. Let's go to another spread play, and let's go to the Garden as the New York Knicks. And by the way, I guess this is just how the schedule works, and it's not too kind to whoever wins the cup. And obviously that's an extra game because, as you know, right, that's the 83rd uncounted game with individual stats, obviously, for both New York and San Antonio. And obviously the Spurs played yesterday. They found a way to win against the Washington Wizards, and they're going to play again tonight. We'll get to them in a second, but I like the Sixers here to cover against New York. Guys, think about the travel the Knicks have done the last couple days. Vegas to Indiana and immediately back to New York. And sure, San Antonio's about to do a lot of travel as well, and we'll talk about them, but it's not as bad, I don't think, for the Spurs as it is for the Knicks. Well, hell, one team was out partying, likely. I can't confirm this, but we can assume they were. One team was enjoying their Tuesday night in Vegas. The other team fell short, and obviously it wasn't, a fun night for the Spurs, and, unfortunately, Victor Wembanyama obviously was dealing with some stuff. Was not a great Tuesday night for San Antonio. The Knicks probably had the time of their lives on the Strip in Vegas, and they came out sluggish yesterday against Indiana, and Jalen Brunson, of course, hits his third three-pointer to hit the game winner against the Pacers. Pacers cover, but Jalen Brunson hits the game-winning shot to close it out for the Knicks. So good on good on New York. The Knicks get it done without some key players, obviously. No Karl Anthony Towns, as well as no, obviously, Deuce McBride still out as well. Mitchell Robinson didn't play either. They actually had to go to some bench pieces. They had to play Kolek 26. Clarkson had to play 30. Regardless, Jalen Brunson and the guys found a way to win. But now they got to go back and play another one against Philly. I don't know if I like this at all for the Knicks. I think Philadelphia is able to cover. And again, the importance of not having to, play all those games in quick succession. And oh, by the way, Philly hasn't played since Sunday, which I don't know who makes these schedules, but yes, the Sixers have not played since Sunday in Philadelphia, where they lost by 3 points, and Paul George turned back the clock with 35 points. How about that for PG? It's, taking me back to the good old days where he was in the Gatorade commercials calling game. Regardless, Paul George played well in their last game against the Hawks, but they haven't played since Sunday, so it's been a while since Philly's actually gone out there, and they're in a great position here to upset New York, but definitely cover the spread against the Knicks. Now, I expect the Knicks to get some of their players back, and sure, this is a much better team at home at Madison Square Garden than they are on the road, and they're probably going to get Josh Hart back as well. I forgot to mention him obviously earlier, but they no McBride, no Towns, no Hart, no Robinson. I don't think, regardless of what happens to the other 3 guys, I don't think McBride's playing yet. He's still out with that ankle injury, and obviously Landry Shamit's out for the foreseeable future, who, again, is another borderline rotational piece for the Knicks, depending on the game he does play. We'll see what happens with Cat, Hart, and Mitchell Robinson. You knew they had to set out one half of the back-to-back. I assume they were just sitting out the Pacers one because they thought that they could win it still and get an extra day of rest before going back home and taking on Philadelphia on national television or on, a primetime spot against the Knicks on Amazon Prime. But I think Philly's able to keep this one close. Will they win? Potentially. But I think this game being close will probably happen, I think. Joel Embiid is questionable. When is he ever not questionable? It's actually not with an injury this time, though. The process is questionable with an illness. So let's hope Embiid plays. Obviously, we know what Tyrese Maxey's been doing this year with the crazy scoring numbers he has put on this year. 32 points per game for Tyrese Maxey this year is absurd. And I still say, like, Philly's got so much talent, man. They've got a lot of talent on this team. If they can just put it all together, they're going to be dangerous in the playoffs. And sure, that kind of just sums up the Joel Embiid era in Philadelphia, the fact that they've still yet to make the conference finals with Embiid on the roster. But, I mean, this team, talent-wise, feels like they should be a top 2 squad in the Eastern Conference going into the spring and into the summer. But obviously, time will only tell on that. You know, you got a guy in Jared McCain who feels like, you know, it's just a matter of time before he gets traded to a team where he can start and play 25 to 30 minutes per game. And, you know, we've talked about it before. He's blocked because of Maxey and Edgecombe and Quentin Grimes as well. But anyways, I like the Philadelphia 76ers to keep this game close against New York. I'm looking at the Knicks. It's a team that is heavily fatigued. I don't care that these guys, you know, and Hart, Robinson, and Cat all didn't play last night. Well, the rest of the lineup did. Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges. These guys had to go and play a life and death game with the Indiana Pacers. And credit to the Knicks for finding a way and getting it done, right? Jalen Brunson hits that 3, down by 2 points, hits the 3 to take a lead. You know New York did not want to play overtime, and they found a way to do it. I mean, this is a team that's played a lot of basketball, and that's had a lot of travel, and obviously, you know, they had, I'm sure, a great Tuesday night as well after they beat the San Antonio Spurs. But now they got to play another one, and then they can only get one more day of rest, and then they got the Heat on a day game on Sunday. It's just a lot of basketball right now for the New York Knicks, and I think this is where Philly can catch them. So I'm going to go Philadelphia 76ers spread. It gets even better if Robinson, Hart, and Cat both don't play. All 3 don't play again. I assume we're going to get some combination of those guys. I don't think all 3 of them are going to sit out again, but maybe they do. We shall see. Again, they went all out to win that first New York Knicks championship since the 1970s. So, obviously, in-season championship. But I'm going to be going with the Philadelphia 76ers here. I think they can go on the road and find a way to cover. And the biggest thing in all of this as well, right? New York has gone from Vegas, Indiana, back to New York. The Sixers haven't played a basketball game since Sunday. So let's hope Embiid plays as well. He's not injured. He's just sick. So let's hope Embiid gives it a go. But give me Philadelphia spread on the road on Prime to cover against the Knicks, plus 5.5 for Philadelphia. On to our next game. And yes, we're going to go 3 straight spread/money lines to start. And we're going to close the video with 2 player props. It's just how the schedule works. So our next one is San Antonio going on the road to Atlanta, Georgia to take on the Atlanta Hawks. And even though they've played a lot of basketball like the Knicks, I am going to go with the Spurs here. Why? Again, different circumstance and a different real scenario with San Antonio. Okay, again, we mentioned it earlier. They didn't have an all-night party likely on Tuesday night. They only won $300,000 from the tournament. The Knicks won $500,000, right? And I'm sure they were very active at the casinos and the clubs that night. So, big difference. They only won $300K. 2, again, really the main 2. That and, there's 3. That, they played the Wizards last night at home in San Antonio, and they blew them out. So starters did not have to play deep in that game at all, and I'm sure they did not want to play any of their starters late. Obviously, Wemby is still kind of he's still definitely on the minutes restriction. Only played 17 minutes against Washington, still off of the bench. Cornette starting currently, but the most minutes a single player had to play was Devin Vassell at 26 minutes yesterday, because obviously the Wizards are horrible, and San Antonio was able to blow them out. 3, they don't have to travel far. They're already back in the South, and sure, again, the trip to Indiana to New York's not that far for the Knicks, but you're going San Antonio to Georgia, and your guys didn't play the night before. So again, the fatigue is nowhere near as big of a concern for the San Antonio Spurs as it is currently for the New York Knicks. And by the way, there's not a huge load of injuries that the Spurs are dealing with that New York currently is. So anyways, San Antonio now goes to Atlanta to take on the Hawks. And now Atlanta plays their last game against the Charlotte Hornets on Thursday yesterday, and they lose. So here's the thing, too. Again, both second night of a back-to-back, but San Antonio got rest in their last game. Wembanyama played 17 minutes, and I'm sure San Antonio was very enthused that they got to do that. But even like Fox, Vassell, Harper, Castle, these guys are playing 20 minutes, if that. They're not really playing deep into that game. Atlanta had to go life and death yesterday with the Charlotte Hornets, and they didn't get the win. They lost to Charlotte, who was very quickly picking up steam. Obviously, there's been a lot of reports that the Hornets feel like Con Knuppel is their franchise player and not LaMelo Ball. And maybe he is. and Atlanta loses Trae Young's return. Young comes back, only plays 20 minutes, obviously on a minutes restriction, but they lose in Young's return. He still posts 10 assists because that's what he does. But the Hawks lose by 7 points on the road in Charlotte to the Hornets. Yikes. Jalen Johnson, one hell of a day. Johnson, 43 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. He quickly is the face of Atlanta Hawks basketball. Is he? Is Jalen Johnson the best player on Atlanta now? I think he kind of has to be. It's still Trae's team, obviously, but the numbers Jalen Johnson's putting up this year, very much all-star quality. It's insane. But here's the thing, though. The Hawks lost. You lose to Charlotte, and now you're coming back home, sure, but you're playing the San Antonio Spurs, who I know they didn't win the cup. I don't care. They are the winners, in my opinion, in terms of, obviously, the winners of the cup are the New York Knicks. But the winners in terms of, my confidence in them going down the stretch of the year, 100% the New York Knicks. San Antonio Spurs. The Knicks, whatever. I'm very pumped about the Spurs right now. I've bought into San Antonio now because of that run they went on, beating the Lakers in the way that they did, beating the OKC Thunder for the second time this year OKC has lost, and obviously Thunder yesterday back to normal dominance over the Los Angeles Clippers. I'm pretty high on San Antonio currently. They're playing good basketball. They should be able to go into Atlanta and win. I mean, we're kind of at this point now with the Spurs where I can group them into the certain tier of teams where if they are anywhere near even money, we just absolutely take them. Obviously, it's a very elite group of teams, and they're only in the West. But if we ever get the Thunder, Nuggets, Lakers, or Spurs now, Houston, I don't know if I want to put them in that tier yet. If we get any four of those teams anywhere close to even money against a team not in those four, we're taking it. Absolutely. And sure, minus 135 is not even money, but it's close, obviously. It's not the minus 180 or above, obviously, we're used to with these group of teams I just mentioned. So why wouldn't I take the Spurs here? A lot, again, is going their way. Their guys didn't play late in their game. Look at Atlanta's players. They played in a competitive shootout where Charlotte put up 133 points on them. LaMelo Ball hit seven first-half three-pointers against that team. Charlotte's got 80 points at halftime against you. Yikes. San Antonio's going to score. If Charlotte can do that to you, and I understand 100%. The Hornets are playing good basketball. They're playing much better basketball. I give that Hornets team a lot of credit. Sure, again, if Knuppel and LaMelo Ball can play well, that's a huge plus for Charlotte, not because for the future, because then they can trade LaMelo Ball for as many assets as possible. Los Angeles Clippers. Did you see that report? The Clippers think that they still have a chance. The Clippers want to buy at the deadline because they think they can make a push for the 10th seed and the play-in because they don't have their picks. So they're like, we might as well try for the play-in. They're only 5 games out of the play-in. Maybe they get it. So maybe that is a move, right? LaMelo Ball gets traded at the deadline to a team like the Clippers who think they're contenders. Clippers, Jared McCain. Just saying, Jared McCain. But still, I think San Antonio wins this matchup quite easily. Again, we'll see if Wembanyama's back in the starting lineup. I don't think he's going to be yet. I think, my guess is Christmas. That's my guess when Wemby's going to be back in the starting lineup. Maybe the first Thunder game, but I think definitely on Christmas Day they're going to have him start, and that's when the minutes restriction, barring any setbacks, hopefully, and there are no setbacks, but barring that, that's when Wembanyama, I think, is going to play his normal amount of minutes. Will be on Christmas Day against the OKC Thunder in Oklahoma City. But right now, it's fine. Cornette's doing a good enough job, and the guard play is, very, very. It's well enough, obviously. That's one way to put it. The guards are playing well. Fox, Vassell, Castle, Harper off the bench, Champagnie off the bench. San Antonio's playing good basketball, and they should be able to beat Atlanta here. Yes, Trae Young's back. It's still going to take Young a couple games to get back going. He's still the franchise piece, obviously, and they don't want to get him hurt again, so he's only going to play 20 minutes. Jalen Johnson's great, but he put up 43 points in their last game against the Hornets and still lost. So he can put up a bunch of points tonight against San Antonio, and maybe they'll still lose too. So give me Spurs money line on the road in Atlanta, Georgia. San Antonio gets it done at minus 135 to beat the Atlanta Hawks. On now to our fourth best bet of the video, going to our 2 player props. Let's go to old reliable Josh Giddey. How about the game Josh Giddey plays on Wednesday against Cleveland? It is going to be a damn shame if Josh Giddey is not an all-star come February. The man is averaging a near triple-double with 20, 10, and 9. He has to be an all-star, and yet another triple-double for Josh Giddey. I believe, is he second in Bulls history now, only behind Michael Jordan in terms of triple-doubles? I think he's getting close. I saw some tweet by Chicago that he only trails Michael Jordan now in something with triple-doubles. I don't know if it's 20-point triple-doubles. I don't know what it is, but I know he's getting there. So Josh Giddey is the franchise in Chicago. We always forget he's only 23 years of age, and the year he's having is absurd. Right? It's like we're watching Steve Nash out here with Josh Giddey. the passing ability, the rebounds, the scoring. So Josh Giddey's last game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, he gets 45 PRA, obviously with the 23, 11, and 11 with the triple-double. This line is basically asking Josh Giddey to put on another 20-point triple-double. It's not too crazy, guys. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists does it. That's 40 PRA. We can fall a little bit short of that mark. Ultimately, what's important with Josh Giddey PRA lines is, do you think he can score? That's really what it is. Because I know there are some games where Giddey doesn't get the triple double, or doesn't has a bad day rebounding, or doesn't really get assists because his teammates can't make shots, and various things can happen. Obviously, it's basketball; some things are random. But ultimately, the toughest thing with Josh Giddey PRAs are usually the points. So if it's a matchup where we think, I don't know if Josh Giddey can really score all that many points, then it's tough to pick it. Well, I just saw this game a couple nights ago. I saw it on Wednesday night, and yes, the game was in the United Center, it was in Chicago. But the same matchup, Cleveland versus Chicago, and Josh Giddey scored 23 points. He took 11 three-pointers, which might be the most he's taken all year long. Correct? Yeah, it is. It is the most three-pointers he's taken in a single game all season long, because Cleveland was giving him that shot. The Bulls were running in transition. They looked really good in that game, and they ended up winning it, obviously. But Josh Giddey, right, shoots 11 three-pointers, hits 5 of them. That's what he can be at his best. And shout out to the Bulls. They're back in the play-in spot, which has, the 3 normal play-in teams currently: 7-seed Miami, 9-seed Atlanta, 10-seed Chicago. We just need the Magic to lose one game, and they'll be right back in there with them. Anyways, currently the Cavs have the other play-in spot. But likely, I'm serious, the Bulls and the Hawks, I can almost guarantee you, are going to play each other in the play-in like they do every single season. Or at least, they didn't play last year, but they were both in the play-in. Obviously, Chicago lost, and Atlanta, they both lost to Miami. Anyways, I'm taking Josh Giddey's over PRA. And it's on the point that, or it's with the point that we know he can score against this team. And we know he can put up 20 against them. So if he can score 20 points, sure, that sets the bar kind of high. We need 9 rebounds and 9 assists, but this is a player who quite often puts up triple doubles. I think we're going to be okay tonight, especially too why I like the matchup so much with, saying, I need Josh Giddey to get a triple double, which obviously on the surface sounds difficult because triple doubles, you can see players like Josh Giddey, you see players like Nikola Jokic, you see players like Luka Doncic, put up triple doubles and post triple doubles with ease, obviously. At the same time, though, it is still difficult to do. But again, in the matchup and how this works, obviously with the Bulls playing the Cavs, matchup-wise, this does favor Josh Giddey quite a bit. Because the way Chicago plays, they run, obviously, in transition. They are very quick to fire up shots. And as well, no Evan Mobley on the court as well. I know Jared Allen still makes up for a lot of the rebounds for Cleveland, but Josh Giddey's arguably, he is the best rebounder, I think, on the Bulls. Vooch, I don't know. I honestly think it might be Josh Giddey. And also, maybe no Donovan Mitchell. Why is that important? I know Mitchell is very often on shooting whites. He did not have a very great game against, it was against Charlotte before the Chicago game. Mitchell played very well, though, against the Bulls. If Mitchell's not in the game, there's a lot more missed shots going up. Just saying. So more rebounding potential for Josh Giddey. We'll see if Mitchell plays. I believe he's questionable. Yeah, questionable with an illness right now. So we'll see what happens with the franchise piece, at least for Cleveland, which I don't know. Maybe his time might be very, very close to coming up with the Cavs. Not because Mitchell's problem. It's just they can't win. So why would he stay there? So they probably eventually have to trade him. But I think Josh Giddey should be able to go over tonight. I'm expecting near triple-double numbers. In a game that, watch out, I think the Bulls might win again. I obviously didn't include it in the video, but they're on the road in Cleveland, especially if Mitchell doesn't play. They're only 7.5-point dogs in Cleveland. There's a very good chance they can get it because we just saw this game a couple days ago. And honestly, guys, it's hard to mark the Cavaliers as just some elite team right now in the East. Obviously, they were the team in the Eastern Conference last year, and then obviously in the second round, they ran into Indiana, and they lost in 5 games. Crazy. 6? 5. No, they lost in 5. Indiana beat them in Cleveland. Yeah, that Pacers Eastern Conference run last year, man, that one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. They would have won the chip too, which is just, oh man. Anyways, we can't really categorize them as elite right now, Cleveland. We can't. Look where they're at in the standings. They're in the play-in with the Heat, Hawks, and Bulls, teams that are there every single year, no matter what they do. So I don't think we can, again, say this. We can't put this team on a pedestal right now. I'm going to take Chicago. Well, that's not an official best bet. I think the Bulls cover, but I'm going to take Josh Giddey. And if the Bulls are going to cover, it's probably going to be because of Giddey. So then Giddey scores 20+, and I think, again, the rebounds and the assists should follow from there. Give me Josh Giddey and the Bulls to have a pretty good night in Cleveland tonight, but especially Josh Giddey to go over 37 points, rebounds, and assists on the road at the Rocket House Field Mortgage Center, whatever the hell it is, in Cleveland, Ohio. Okay, our final best bet of the video. Yeah, we're going back to old reliable as well. I know we've struggled the last couple of days with player props, so I'm just going to take guys who have continuously cashed for us. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 30.5 points. It's routine. It's routine. Even in the blowouts, he finds a way to do it. And yes, even in the second nights of back-to-backs, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander still finds ways to go over 30 points. I believe so. We look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that has been playing all right without Ant. Ant's been questionable for the last 3 games. I thought he was going to play against Memphis, and we still had Memphis to cover. I still thought they were going to be able to do that a couple nights ago, and obviously the Grizzlies just ended up winning because watch out for Memphis. They're playing really good basketball, but Ant's been questionable the last couple days, right? Didn't know if he was going to play the Golden State game, likely wasn't. Thought he was probably going to play the Sacramento game, didn't happen. Thought he was definitely going to play the Memphis game, that one didn't happen either. So now we'll see if Ant, who again is getting the questionable tag going into tonight's game on Prime against OKC, Adam Silver will likely make a call and say, hey, it's prime time, we got to have you on here. Amazon just paid all this money for the NBA to kick TNT off of television, or at least with the NBA, we need you to play, pal. I don't care if you're hurt, go out there and play 20 minutes just so we can put you on a poster. We'll see. And that, Ant's been kind of a difficult matchup for Shai in the past, obviously. If you remember that, game-winning block that Ant had in the regular season against Shai last season, it's not that difficult of a matchup in all fairness. But, Ant's one of the guys who you can say is one of Shai's rivals in the league, even though Shai's already beat him in the playoffs once, and quite easily. But regardless, right, if there's anything we can kind of guarantee out of the Thunder is that Shai's going to have a great game. It's will Shai score more than 30.5 points is the question. And I think, yes, the only reason this line's not at 31.5 or 32.5 like it usually is because it's the second night of a back-to-back for the Thunder. Guys, Shai's very aware of his averages, and I think that the Thunder are probably going to be in a much tougher and closer game tonight than they were yesterday, obviously, against the Clippers. Los Angeles actually got to a hot start. That game was very competitive for the first 16 minutes. And then the Thunder just took over, obviously, and then OKC ended up winning. I think there was one point in that game where the Clippers were up like 10 points. They're up like 10 points at one point. And then OKC just completely pulled away. And Shai, in a blowout, in a game that he didn't play the fourth quarter in, still found a way to score 32 points. Like clockwork. So now, second night of the back-to-back, we'll see what OKC does here in terms of, we'll see if those shots fall for everyone else. We know Shai's still going to get his buckets like he always does. Shai had a slow start yesterday as well against the Clippers, and then he still finds his way to 32 points. Again, it's just what he does. Shai's very aware of his averages. We saw it on the Netflix, documentary as well. He's talking to his wife and saying, well, 30 points is a bad night for me. I need to score 35. So Shai's very aware what's going on. He's obviously looking for his second straight most valuable player award, and he's probably en route to getting that, obviously, as he's trying to continue to establish a legacy here of being one of the greatest players of all time. I'm just saying he kind of is right now. Like, he's going down that path if they win again this year. But anyways, he's very aware of, trying to keep his averages up in this MVP race. And I think he should be able to go over 30.5 points tonight in a game that I think, again, Shai's going to have to play the fourth quarter in. And usually, regardless of if Shai plays the fourth or not, he still finds ways to go over, because if it's a blowout, Shai just plays basically his fourth quarter as the third quarter. Because Shai's way of putting the game away is, all right, we're up 20 points in the third. If I can put the team on an 8-0 run to close the quarter, now we're up 28 points. I don't have to come back out, right? And even if they're only up 20, he probably doesn't come back out for the fourth anyway. But that's Shai's end of games are in the third quarter. So he'll play that final 6-minute stretch in the third and then rack up his points and get out of there and not have to play the fourth quarter. This is a game where we might have to see a fourth quarter out of Shai. The only game these two teams have played this season was in OKC. It was the Cup game, and Thunder won. But it was a competitive game. OKC won by 8 points. It was a competitive one. Ant played fairly well, obviously. There was some discussion about the free throws and the officiating of that game. Regardless, Shai still scores 40. He did have 17 free throws, but SGA scores 40 in 37 minutes in a rare fourth quarter outing for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think, again, this one's going to go in the fourth, and that game was in OKC, and it was tightly contested. This one's going to be in Minnesota. We'll see if Ant plays. If Edwards doesn't play, I know Minnesota's been able to stay afloat without Ant, but obviously they would much rather him in the lineup than with him not in the lineup. And again, that's just something we won't know until right before the game happens. But I think SGA will still find his way over on points, regardless of the scenario, too. That's just the greatness of SGA. Even if he doesn't play the fourth quarter, that means, okay, it's a blowout and SGA's getting all of his points in the first three. Or if he has to come back out for the fourth, then okay, clutch time minutes for the player who has the most clutch time points in the NBA. This is an Amazon Prime stat. I don't really believe this, but they were, Van Gundy was kind of, and D Wade were like, really? When they said this stat, but I guess it is. SGA's got the most clutch points, has the most clutch minute points in the NBA, and he's only played in half of the fourth quarters. He's only played in 12 fourth quarters this season. Find that a little odd, but I guess it's a real stat, so it is what it is. Regardless, SGA is going to find his points, and I think he will go over 30.5 tonight in Minnesota and Minneapolis on the primetime spot on Amazon Prime against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So again, give me SGA over 30.5 at -125. Folks, thank y'all for watching our NBA Best Bets here on December 19th. If you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you did disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily NBA Best Bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.